Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and I was always told I had a voice for radio, so today we are looking at a new Luvdisc card. Because, ladies and gentlemen, this could actually be a legitimately good starting Pokemon in the upcoming format, to the point where I don't know why it's taken me quite so long to get to it. This could genuinely be really, really good. Now, our translations, as always, or at least most of the time, come from the lovely David Hochmann over at limitlesstcg.com/translations. And to start off with the basics, it is a water Pokemon. Water Pokemon is good nowadays, because being a water Pokemon means that you get access to Brigette Hill to search it out. And this is a basic, which helps a lot in terms of, getting it out nice and easily, and you technically have access to Aqua Patch, but it really doesn't matter. You're not going to be using Aqua Patch for this particular Pokemon. You've got a retreat cost of 1, which is great, because it means that after rotation, you will have access to a skateboard to give you easier retreat, which is going to be lovely, especially with Floatstone rotating out. And your weakness to grass is kind of irrelevant because you've got 70 HP. The good news is that something like a Horn Attack from Tapu Bulu will not get a one-hit KO because you've got 70 HP, and that will only do 60 with weakness. So although the HP is incredibly low, at least it's 70, not 60. We've at least got that, which is nice. Pre-rotation, it does mean that a Buzzwole with a strong energy and a Diancie Prism style will get a KO, but post-rotation, with strong energy going away, you should be safe unless they draw their once per game beast energy and decide to use it to KO a Luvdisc. But it really is the first attack here, which we are loving on Luvdisc. And what it says, according to the lovely David Hochmann, search your deck for as many basic Pokemon as your opponent has bench Pokemon and put them onto your bench. Then shuffle your deck. Essentially, you get to match the number of bench Pokemon that your opponent has got. This is a perfect going second kind of Pokemon, because if you go first, you're not going to be able to attack. And if you go second, your opponent's already going to have had a turn, and generally what we do on the very first turn of the game, especially given that we can't attack, is we get our basics out. You can't evolve, you can't attack, you grab a whole bunch of basics out, attach an energy if you've got one, and then end your turn, and then in comes Luvdisc to match that number of bench Pokemon. Now, pre-rotation here, Brigette is amazing, because it basically means that you don't need Brigette, you need Brigette Hill. Your opponent uses a Brigette, and then maybe they have a second basic, or maybe they grab something like an Oranguru and grab an extra card or two, or maybe they're playing Brigette Hill as well. And if they can get 3 or 4 basics out, then you can get 3 or 4 basics out. And they do go straight to the bench, which means that you're going to be able to then evolve them the next turn. So let's say, for argument's sake, you go and search for Freeze or Rua. You can then the very next turn evolve all of them up into Zoroark, and you're off and rolling. It is consistency coming out of the wazoo. Now, there is an argument that post-rotation, it's not going to be quite as useful. Because you see, it's probably going to be Steven's decision as a turn 1 after rotation. That's where you search for free cards and your turn ends. And if you're using that as your supporter, but then you can't actually bench any of the basics, etc., then you do end up in this weird situation where your opponent has very few bench Pokemon out. Now, the counter argument here is that if we're all using Steven's Resolve, we're probably going to be doing stuff like playing Brigette Hill, playing Nest Ball, etc., so that we can get our basics out more quickly while using Steven's decision as our turn 1 supporter. Obviously, if your opponent doesn't get any basics down, you're not going to be able to get any basics down. But what are the odds your opponent doesn't get any basics down? Not high, ladies and gentlemen. The fact of the matter is, it's very, very likely that you're going to be able to get 2, 3, 4 bench Pokemon from this, especially pre-rotation when Brigette's around, and that's what makes me excited. We've had Call for Family on a whole bunch of Pokemon. I mean, Emolga from Dragons Exalted was a particularly good one because it got you 2 rather than 1, and it had free retreat. Oh, 2, you can get 3 or 4 here. I mean, one of the cards we're really excited about post-rotation is the Dunsparce, which will actually be coming in the same set. So it's kind of cool that we got 2 of these Pokemon in the same set that can do similar things. And people have basically agreed that Dunsparce is good. Now, Dunsparce is a basic Pokemon, colorless energy. Search for 3 basic Pokemon, put them on your bench, and you can switch. So Dunsparce gets a guaranteed 3, whereas Luvdisc could be anywhere from 0 to 5. And Dunsparce does get to switch, and I used the example before of grabbing something like a Tapu Koko, so you can switch it up, and then you got a high HP free retreater in the active, which is pretty cool. Or you could even switch to something like a Tauros if your opponent can't get a one-hit KO, so that you can potentially use Mad Bull GX. The point is, it's really nice, because you can chuck up essentially whatever you want. Now, Luvdisc has several advantages over Dunsparce. Because, first of all, it's got 70 HP, which is much better. Secondly, it's not weak to Buzzwole, which is much better. Thirdly, being a water Pokemon means you can search it out with Brooklet Hill, which is much better. Dunsparce has 2 great advantages. The fact that you get a guaranteed free, which is only an advantage in some games, and the fact that you can switch back to the bench afterwards, which you might not even want to do. But I tell you what, in a format where we're all getting excited for Dunsparce, we should probably also all be getting excited for Luvdisc, because it could be just as good. Like I say, there is a big element of risk here, because if your opponent doesn't have enough bench Pokemon, then you're not going to be able to do much with this. But then again, what's your opponent going to do? Not bench a bunch of Pokemon so that you can't bench Pokemon? No! They're probably going to try and get set up like every person does in every deck ever. Ladies and gentlemen, in comes Luvdisc. Now, there is actually a second attack here, but don't get particularly excited. It's not particularly good. 2 colorless energy, so I suppose if we're being kind, we can say, yay, double colorless energy! Or even, yay, we can use Aqua Patch because it's a water Pokemon, but don't get excited. It's not worth getting excited about. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now asleep. No. With a choice band, you're doing 100 to Pokemon that are weak to water, GXs, or EXs, but what we got, Volcanion EX, which is not good anymore, really, and it's about to rotate. No, thank you. If you really, really want to do 20 damage on a basic Pokemon, use Tapu Fini GX, because at least it's for 1 colorless energy, and it's got a bit more beef to it, and Tapu Storm GX is pretty good, so you might get some use out of that here or there. It's not a particularly good attack, but that's okay. We're not playing Luvdisc for this attack. The fact of the matter is, when rotation hits, we are all changing how we're building our decks. Brigette's gone away, so we've got some decisions to make. Maybe you go Fan Club. And Fan Club, they go to your hand, so you can use coming into play abilities, but just so we're clear, Fan Club is not as good as Brigette. It's not even close. We weren't using Tapu Lele for Fan Club. Maybe you just play more ball cards like Nest Ball. Maybe you use Dunsparce, or maybe you use Luvdisc. Because I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, I know there is an element of risk here, and I'm sorry about that, but the idea of getting 3, 4, 5 bench Pokemon on a basic which can take a hit from a lot of stuff, well, the kind of stuff you expect to be hit by after 1 turn, and then can use stuff like a skateboard to free retreat, it has got to be worth a play. I'm going to be giving it between 3 and 4 Wassies. We don't give half Wassies, that would be barbaric. Except my daughter, who I suppose is a half Wassie and is not barbaric, she's adorable. Maybe the fact that Dunsparce can switch and is more reliable means it will see more play. Maybe people aren't going to use either of these because they're just going to build their deck differently. Either of those could be what happens. But I look at Luvdisc and I just think, yeah, if I'm playing a deck with Brooklet Hill, so that I can search it out that easily, I'm pretty sure that's what I want to be doing, because it's going to make my life so much easier. But I want to hear from you, lovely ladies and gentlemen. Do you think this is a viable turn 1 option post-rotation, or do you think I'm getting overly excited about a Pokemon which is shaped like a heart? and is a fish. Let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all of that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do just that. And do check out my video game /Dragon Ball Super channel, Wassy Plays, for some more Wassy action. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.